Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here, General Manager at DeMarcoSports.com, and this is going to be your Sunday video report. Listen, NFL complimentary plays. Over the past 19 weeks, dating back to last year and the regular season, NFL only, I'm on a 48, 29, and 3 roll with the NFL freebies. Yeah, the plays I'm giving away, 48, 29, and 3. Last Sunday, had just one play. I told you it wasn't a very good card, and I cashed in with the Cincinnati Bengals over Carolina. Today, 3 selections coming your way in just a moment. Now, generally, this point forward in the regular season, I'm going to do these reports either late on Thursday, early on Friday. And there's a reason, a method behind that madness, because it's very important to see the results of the team's injury reports following their Thursday practices, because that Thursday practice is probably the most important to give you an idea. If guys are going to be practicing even on a limited basis Thursday, that will give you an idea whether or not they're going to be available on Sunday. So many people are doing video reports nowadays, and you have to remember when you see these video reports available Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, most of them are only there because they're pushing to get you to sign up with a particular sports book. That is the gimmick, especially here on YouTube, for the plethora of video reports you see by, Tom, Joe, Dick, and Harry. They are doing all these video reports. It wasn't this way when I started doing it 15 years ago. It was then guys, well, trying to sell picks, to be honest with you. But nowadays, it's all about trying to get gamblers to sign up with sports books, because all these guys are making commissions on the back end of the signups with the sports books. So that's why they don't give a damn whether they win the picks. It's all about volume. It's all about converting. So really, putting out those picks early in the week before the lines really settle in, before you know who's going to be available in games, it's really worthless. So again, most of the time you're going to find the NFL video reports available Thursday night and Friday morning. Now, before I get to your complimentary plays for today, I want to review with you some key numbers which I think will enlighten you why it's been a little tough to win on Sundays. Let me just say this to you. Gamblers and handicappers gravitate towards favorites. It is basic human nature. No matter how many guys, and there is a minority out there, will always say, hey, you've got to bet the dogs. That's the only way to make money. I'm here to tell you that over the course of a 272 game regular season, at the end of the year, you will have a spread of no more than 15 to 20 games between the favorites and the underdogs. One or the other having a favorite. A 20-game spread, a 15-game spread, that is a paper-thin margin. Sometimes the favorites will have an advantage, sometimes the underdogs. But I want to go over some key numbers for you. And listen, I know I'm going to hit you with a lot of numbers. If you want to really see these broken down so they hit you in black and white, you can go to DeMarcoSports.com. Geez, I know my own website, huh? DeMarcoSports.com. If you hit the free picks section on the homepage and go down to pro football, it's all broken down for you in black and white and even a little red and blue highlights. But first of all, that unique little trend that I spotted some 13, 14 years ago, where if you can simply predict the straight up winner of games, you will find that they cash in ATS wise at an 85 to 90% clip over the first 12, 13 weeks of the season. Well, through the first 4 weeks, it's hitting at an 87.5% clip. 12-4 week number 1, 13-2 in week 13-2-1 in week number 2, 16-0. 16-0 in week number 3. I got to tell you, in all the years doing it, I can only remember one other time that happened. 12-3-1 last week, so 63-9-1. Picking the straight up winners, that's why they've done against the spread, 87.5%. How have the underdogs done? Well, after going 10-5-1 against the spread last week, they are now 35-27-2 on the season. So there you go. They have a little bit of an advantage, an 8-game advantage after 4 weeks of play. That other thing I've always told you, that if you love a dog and that take back price on the money line is $1.40 or more, I always say place a smaller wager on that dog to win outright, because you will find over the course of the long season that 35% of the time that puppy will win outright. So why not make a smaller wager if the take back price is significant enough and you love that game? Well, of those 35 underdogs that have covered, 26 of them have won outright. 26 of them. That is a 40.6% clip. Through 4 weeks, they have won out. I mean, that's a hell of a percentage, right? That's even better than the average that I have found to sustain itself over the course of the entire season over the past 13, 14 years that I've tracked it. But let me break this down a little more for you. Sundays have been hellish. You don't have to tell me. And a number of you have emailed or commented here on the site about how tough Sundays have been. Well, there's a reason for that. And if you go to the site, you'll see it, but I'll quickly tell you. Primetime games. We're talking Thursday night, the lone Friday night game with the Eagles and the Packers, the Sunday night primetime games, and your Monday night games. The favorites are 10-4-1 against the spread. Now hold it. You know what I just told you about the underdogs for the course of the season. So let's back out the favorites from that overall number, the primetime games from the overall number. Doing the math, if you do that subtraction, that means on Sundays, the morning games in London or wherever, the 1 o'clock Eastern time starts, the 4 o'clock hour Eastern time starts. Those Sunday games, the underdogs are 31-17-1 against the spread. They have kicked everyone's ass. And I always like to say that when the dogs are barking at that phenomenal of a clip, only two things are happening, and neither one of them are good, generally, from our perspective. We are generally losing our shirts because, again, basic human nature, we gravitate towards favorites, and bookmakers are making a fortune. But everything is cyclical in gambling. I'm telling you, don't fall in love with the dogs because favorites will eventually have their day. It is always cyclical. So again, all those numbers are broken down over on the site if you want to take a deeper dive, and I will continue to break them down for you here as the season progresses. You know, I apply the same philosophies that I do in managing my my investment accounts. Whether they're at Vanguard or Wells Fargo or Fidelity, you know, I analyze all the teams the same way I analyze all my stocks and ETFs. You know, you have to take deeper dives. You have to apply certain standards and analytics to them, and not necessarily on the short term, but over a long term, because short term things change week to week, day to day. Otherwise, you're like a day trader in the finance world, okay? But you have to look at the bigger picture. And again, realize that everything is cyclical. It happens in the financial world, it happens in gambling as well. So with all that being said, let's get to your first complimentary play here. I'm going to go, I think, with the first play, and the play that I like probably the most is going to be the Seahawks. Now, I had a top-rated 15-dime best bet on Detroit on Monday night because I thought that Detroit was due to have an offensive explosion, and they certainly did, 42 points on the board. And I was also very concerned with the fact that the Seahawks had a number of injuries, especially on the defensive side, where they had 4 of their top 7 guys on the defensive front, 7 expected to miss that game. Now, checking the Seahawks injury report here late on Thursday, it's almost 9 o'clock Eastern time as I update this report. I see a couple of them are expected to be back. There's still a couple that are iffy, and the Seahawks have a laundry list of injuries here. But I'm encouraged by the Seahawks in what I see. I am very discouraged for the Giants because probably their 2 best offensive players probably aren't going to be available here. Malik Neighbors, who is in concussion protocol, still not practicing as of Thursday. The guy's been targeted at an NFL league high 13 times a game this season. He has 35 catches. And Devin Singletary, who is their number 1 running back now, He's got a groin injury. He's still not practicing. So it's highly unlikely, I would say, that either one of these guys are going to be in the lineup. Now, true, the Giants have the extra rest by virtue of losing on Thursday night 20-15 at home to the Cowboys, but big deal. What does that mean if you don't have to your only offensive threats? Because we know Daniel Jones needs all the help he can get. Now, are the Seahawks playing on a short week? Yes, but they do have the advantage that they at least are going back home off that short week. And it's interesting that their defense had allowed 43 points in their first three games, gave up 42 against the Lions. But again, I thought that the Lions were in that situation that they were due to have an offensive explosion. You know, you look at that game and Seattle ran 28 more plays. They had a 38-21 first down advantage, but two costly turnovers did them in. Hell, they had 516 total yards versus 389 for the Lions in that game. And Geno Smith had a great game. Kenneth Walker II came back after a two-game absence, had a very productive game. But again, the defensive injuries and turnovers cost Seattle. Now you're getting Seattle at home, 6.5. That line did go from 6 to 6.5 earlier today. I love Seattle in this spot. So I'm buying down the half point if that line's anywhere between 6 and 7.5. And I'm taking the Seahawks here over a Giants team that has shown us absolutely nothing this season. Your next play, it just looks too easy. Could it be a trap? It could, but I'm willing to walk into the trap. The Ravens -2.5 against Cincinnati. Did I win with the Bengals here as a complimentary play last week? Yes, I did. But they were playing an awful team in Carolina, and they were lucky to win the game, right? I look at the metrics here in this game, and I see a Cincinnati team that's been unable to stop the run against anybody. Their run defense is giving up 145.5 yards a game. They're allowing 4.4 yards per carry. The Ravens are averaging 220 yards per game on the ground and 6.4 yards per carry. You saw what Derrick Henry did last week against the Bills. 199 yards and 24 carries. The week prior at Dallas, 25 carries, 151 yards. You know what Lamar Jackson's doing on the ground as well. How can the Ravens not run roughshod over this porous Cincinnati run defense? Plus, the Ravens have really been bringing the heat, rushing the passer as well. And you know the only way the Bengals are going to be able to move the ball is through the air. They've already got, the Ravens meaning, 13 sacks on the season. What can I say? I think you have to go with the Ravens. Interesting ATS stat. I read that when Jackson is at quarterback and healthy, starting, the Ravens, when they're laying 3 points or less, 24-5 against the spread. I think momentum is definitely on Baltimore's side. I know that this is a must-win game for Cincinnati, but wasn't it a must-win game 2 Mondays ago when they were hosting Washington? And you saw how the rookie, Jaden Daniels, carved up that secondary? And you saw how the Commanders just ran over, around, and through that Cincinnati run defense? Don't you think Baltimore's going to do the same? So again, I'm going to take Baltimore there as your second complimentary play. FYI, you see at the bottom of the page, the reason I do these video reports, if you have not taken advantage of the 2-day free all access pass, I don't know why, because you get the plays, you pick the days, 2 free days, you get all the plays of all the handicappers absolutely free, no strings attached. I can't sell it any better than that. If you don't want free, I don't know what to tell you. Free is free. End of story. Check it out over at DeMarcosports.com. Boy, is that a hard sell for you or what? Anyway, we move on. The last play, this was a tough one. I had a couple of different games. I thought about San Francisco, but my God, they have got so many injuries. And I keep thinking, is Arizona going to finally play a little better? But truly, the 49ers, as of Thursday night, I mean, Fred Warner and George Kittle did not practice again on Thursday. They've got a lot of defensive injuries. So even though they've won and covered 4 straight against Arizona, I just couldn't pull the trigger. I'm going to go with the Commanders at home, -3 over the Browns. But this is a game that I believe you have to look at the injury report as well, because the Browns are getting healthier. I checked here their offensive line issues. You know, they have allowed 19 sacks. They have been unable to keep Deshaun Watson off his ass. They have been unable to open any holes for whomever is running the ball. And yet, a couple of their offensive linemen who have been sidelined the last few weeks, their 2 starting tackles, Jack Conklin and Jedrick Willis, they had limited participation in practice today. And their starting center, Ethan, uh, I can't think of his last name. Sorry, guys. But anyway, he sprained an ankle in the loss to the Raiders last week. He returned to practice today. So that would be huge if they get their three guys among their five and have their entire starting offensive line together for the first time, I think, this season. Nick Chubb is back practicing too. So there is the potential there that the Browns might actually look like a competent offensive team. But I mean, this Washington team is really playing with a lot of confidence after the road sweep of the Bengals 38-33. And then on a short week, they go to Arizona, second straight on the road, and they take care of business against the Cardinals 42-14. That's a third straight win. I never thought this team would amount to anything this year, but it just shows you with the right offensive system, with the right quarterback, with a strong ground game, it can make up for a really sieve-like defense. I like Washington here. Again, I'm going to go with the Commanders. That line is sitting right around 3, and I'm going to buy down that half point if it's between 3 and 4.5 points. So again, ranking the plays in order of how I like them, I would go again with Seattle. I would then go with Baltimore, and then I would take the Commanders. So those are your 3 selections. I wish you well, guys, and we'll talk to you again soon. Good luck, everybody.